All right. So once again, welcome to Carving Out Time. We're going to be talking about organization, time management, and working in college today. My name is Matt Zekin. I'm with Wichita State University. I'm the local admissions representative for Wichita State. I'm going to talk a little bit about organization to get us started here. For organization, it's very key for you to be organized when you're in college. There's going to be a lot of transition for you. So being organized and being able to stay on top of all your responsibilities is going to be incredibly important. First and foremost, you're going to want to make sure that you get yourself a planner and only one planner. That's a very important part of this. So get yourself a planner, bring it to class with you. Your professor may make announcements on any given day, something that maybe isn't contained in the syllabus that you're going to want to be able to add to your planner to make it kind of a living document for yourself so you can keep track of all your different responsibilities. And the reason I say one planner, some students will have like a written planner or calendar, then they'll have like Google Calendar or some sort of digital planner. And the more that you try to add to that equation, the more confused that you're likely to get, and the more that things are going to slip through the cracks. So we generally say one planner, one calendar, where you kind of let all those things live in that one document there. Your syllabus. At the beginning of the semester, when you get a syllabus from all of your professors for all of your different classes, please make sure that you go through. It takes a little bit of work, but it's going to be so worth it. Put all of your assignments, all of your test dates, everything of that sort needs to go into that planner that you're keeping. So that way you can make sure that you're keeping track of all of your important dates. It helps to color code each of your different classes if you're able to. You can get those little like special Post-it notes or some different colored highlighters. I do a little bit of color coding so that you know which assignment is for which class, which test is for which class, and that sort of thing. Keeping a to-do list is also very helpful to serve as kind of a supplement to your planner. So your planner or your calendar is going to have all your events that have a specific date attached to them. And your to-do list is for all those little items that you need to take care of along the way. Todoist.com, the website's right there on your screen. That's a really helpful one for a digital to-do list, but paper to-do lists work fine as well. And you'll find that a lot of your planners that you purchase, if you get a paper planner, or a paper-based planner, it may even have pages that have to-do lists on there. So bonus if you find one that has that. And then make sure in your classes that you're always taking notes and taking detailed notes. The format is up to you, whether you prefer Cornell notes or whatever format. That's totally up to your own discretion. I did put a digital one that I really enjoy and wish that I had access to when I was in college, called Evernote. But there's a lot of really great note-taking apps out there for digital notes. It's really what works best for you, but make sure that whatever you're using to capture all of your class notes, that you have some way of dividing it by sections for each one of your classes, maybe by different units that you have in each one of your classes as well. But just a few little tips there to get you started with organization. Let's go ahead and jump into our next topic of time management.
Hi everyone, I'm Melissa Rodriguez. I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions for Texas Women's University. So talking about time management, when we are kind of getting ready for college, one of the things that we want to keep in mind is our schedule and how we're organizing ourselves, right? So one of the main things when it comes to time management is, are we going to decide to be a morning bird or a night owl, right? So if you're one today, then tomorrow you're probably not going to be the other one, right? So it's one of those things that you want to keep in mind when you're scheduling yourself for college, right? So if you're like not typically an early riser, but you schedule yourself for 6 a.m., 7 a.m. classes, which they exist, by the way. If you see those early classes, but you're not really a morning person, you want to remember, like I realized when I started my semester in college, was I figured I did early morning for high school, right? So I do the same thing for college. But turns out that I had the summer, and the summer I spent it, sleeping in late, right? So not really that morning person there. So kind of one of those things that you want to keep in mind. Also prioritize, right? If everything is a priority, nothing is, right? So you want to know what are going to be the things that are important to get done, when and how you're going to do them. So like Matt mentioned, planners are going to be a great way to keep yourself organized, because the more organized you are, the more empowered you feel, right? And you're going to be able to, take on the day, take on the tasks, classes, assignments, exams, all that good stuff. And you're not going to be surprised by anything, right? You're not going to hear that dreaded, the test was today kind of situation. You're going to be very much aware of it. So whether you're a person who likes to write down their schedule or likes to have digital planners, I like having digital ones. I like having little alerts letting me know that something's coming up in 15 minutes. So that way I can kind of feel on task, but it all depends on the individual, right? And Google Calendar is actually free, and there's also the Google Drive. So you can keep all of your things organized and keep it all in one place. Also, when you're deciding on, what you're going to be giving priority to when it comes to your time, you're going to block off that study time. Actually put it in the calendar. You're going to want to make sure that you're prioritizing that, because it's kind of easy to let it fall to the wayside, especially if we're so focused on attending class and doing the assignments. But that study time is important too. But you can even block off time for fun stuff, for social media. There's no reason to not do that, right? But if you're going to text with your friends or FaceTime someone, but then put it on the schedule that that's the amount of time you're allotting for that, and then get back to the other projects that you need to work on too.
So my name is Destiny Jones, and I am an admissions counselor with UTSA. And I want to talk a little bit about working in college. We understand that for some students, they want to work in college to get the experience. Some students work in college because they need the money to help out with different things. Either way, there are multiple options for you. You can do work study. Work study is money that is paid to you through financial aid, so through your FAFSA. And work study can allow you to have a lot of different job opportunities, because typically on a college campus, there are plenty of work study jobs available. So you may work in the cafe, you may work in the rec center, the student union, maybe you work in one of the department offices. So there are typically a lot of different job opportunities for you. Doing a job on campus can allow you to have a more school-friendly schedule. So your supervisors, the people that you report to are going to work around your school schedule. They're going to make sure that your schedule fits in your class time and study time and things like that. Working on campus, but not through work study, will often have some of the same benefits as a work study position, except the money that you are being paid with comes directly from the department. So the department will have funds that they use to pay their work study students or their work students. Sometimes there are less job opportunities just because that money is coming directly from the department. So, it just kind of depends on what their funding is for the year, but it'll also be school friendly to your schedule. So they will also work around your class schedule and study time and things like that. Both working on campus through just an on-campus job and through work study will allow you to build mentorships and allow you to have those connections for different jobs and letters of recommendation when the time comes with your faculty and staff members. Now, working off campus can also be a benefit as well. So you're more likely to get more hours when you work off campus. So with a work study job and working on campus, typically the institution provides a limit to the number of hours a student can work, which is typically about 19, whereas off campus, you can work more hours, which means you're gonna get paid a little bit more typically. And then one of the downfalls is that sometimes your off-campus job is not as school friendly or as friendly to your schedule. So your supervisor may not be willing to work around your classes and your different events and your study time. But working off campus and getting those internships and things like that can also be more career focused for you. So you may be able to land a job in the particular area that you want to pursue, or maybe it's something within your major. So you do have some options about working while in college.
So my name is Kelly Tallerine, and I'm an admissions counselor with Texas State University. And what you see on the PowerPoint right now is a mock everyday kind of college student schedule. And what I want you to notice is this schedule does not look like a high school schedule. You don't show up to class at 7:30 and leave by 3, and your whole day is kind of that, work school schedule where it's all blocked off for you. In college, things are all over the place. They interrupt other things. You shove work and appointments where you can. And so take a look at this schedule. You can see that this is 15 college credit hours, which is a full-time student plus 1 extra class. That's 5 courses per semester. This is a student who is working 15 hours as well on campus. So there's not a whole lot of late work in the evenings. Most of their work's happening during the day while the campus offices are open. This student has 2 study groups. This student has 2 student activities they're participating in, and even a meeting on the schedule with their academic advisor to determine kind of where they want to be, what classes they need to take for next semester, and all those beautiful things. So what I want you to notice is this is busy, and this is relatively average for a college student. You've got lots of classes going on. You're working or studying or hanging out with friends in your kind of blocked off time for the organizations that you've chosen. So it's a lot busier, and it fills up a lot faster than you might anticipate it. So take a look at this schedule and what questions does it bring to mind, because we'd like to open up the chat. You can even pop off of mute and ask us questions. We'd love to kind of rifle through what your concerns are.
So just so y'all have it, here's our contact information in case you want to follow up, but it's question time. So throw them out, y'all. Let's hear what questions you have. Feel free to unmute or drop them in the chat. And while we're waiting on some to come through, I'll go ahead and get us started with a great question that Melissa from Texas Women's actually posed for us to answer. What can students do in the summer to get organized for school in the fall? So what can they do to prepare themselves for college in the summer before they leave?
I think one of the things that helps a lot of the students who I follow up with is doing the research and being prepared, right? So if you're in the summer, you're not doing anything last minute, the timeline has been taken care of, right? So we're not trying to rush and apply to schools. If we're a senior, we took care of that in the fall. We visited the schools in January, February, March, maybe virtually, maybe in person. But then we've, know where we're going, right? But now in the summer, it's a matter of, setting up whatever you need to do next, right? If you had to work with the academic advisor and to set up your classes, you have them, but now it's like, okay, let me get this idea, this picture of what my day-to-day looks like. You could do like Kelly had put a digital schedule, right? Things that are recurring. So I'm prepared for it, or I'm writing it down. And, if you're like me and you have your pens, oh, you can't see them, but if you have your pens in all colors and you're like putting different notes and flags and things like that all over your notebook, do that. So doing whatever, so that way, one, you're getting excited because you're going to college, but then also the next thing is that you are prepared and you're knowing what you're going to do next, so that first week of school, like I mentioned earlier, the more organized you are and the more prepared, the more empowered you're going to be. And then you're just going to learn to see what are the things you don't know and what opportunities are there for you.
Awesome. We have some other questions that have come through here. How long on average does homework and study time take in college?
Go ahead, Destiny.
I think, and we probably should figure out the exact rule, but there is a rule of thumb of pretty much for every class you take, you want to study for about 3 hours for that class. And so it just varies depending on the class and if it's your strong suit. So maybe you're really good at math, and so it comes a little bit easier to you. So maybe that 3 hours is cut down to 2 hours. But if you're like me and science is not the best, and I can't remember all the bones in the body and the muscles, it took me 4 or 5 hours to study throughout the week in order to get it down. So on an average, about 3 hours for each class, but it just gives or take depending on the subject area. And, if it's something that you are, that's like your best subject or not.
I had a question that came through. It looks like it was sent directly to me, but I think this is a great one for the group. How could we manage family in school? So how do we balance, maybe we can answer this more generally, is how do we balance all of these different responsibilities while we're in college? Family, school, work, all that good stuff.
It's not easy. So don't ever assume that it's going to be a walk in the park. Balancing all these things is going to be tough and challenging. And not only is college different and the coursework is different and the expectation is different, but your whole life changes. You are doing your own laundry and you're finding your own dinner. You're living independently for the first time, most likely. So there is a lot that goes on that first year in college. There's a huge and very steep learning curve. So I think that my best advice is get organized and stay organized. And if you're not someone who is organized, find something that works for you now in high school, because what works for you now will work for you later. But if you're someone who's kind of just coasting by and doesn't have a system that works for you, you're going to have to create one at like probably one of the most difficult times in your life to do that and to figure out what works for you. So start now, find an organizational system that works for you, whether that's writing everything down physically, putting it in your calendar, on your phone, whatever it is. Figure out which media works for you and perfect your system before you get there.
And if I can add, stay connected. Or how do you balance with family? If you're away from your family, one, it's hard for you, but it's also hard for your family too, right? They're used to you helping out and doing things. So stay connected, but don't feel overwhelmed by it. I'm actually in a whole other state from like my family, so I know I'm got to call my brother or I'm going to hear it. So you need to be able to keep that in the back of your mind, and it's helpful. It's definitely going to be, sometimes you want to be able to reach out to them and hear from them, and not just in the holidays. So that way, here's a bunch of people who are rooting for you to do really well.
All right, y'all. I think we are at the end of our second session here, and we're getting ready here to transition to session number 3. So if y'all would like to, students, if you want to refer back to the document that you received with all of the links for the different meetings, go ahead and pick out your third and final option and head on over to session 3. And thank you so much for joining us today.